You may have a social disease, one that will not go away with a simple injection. You are quite possibly infected with the sepsis of low esteem, and the only known cure is a massive dose of self-love. But perhaps, like many in our society, you've grown up with the idea that loving yourself is wrong. Think of others, society tells us. Love thy neighbor, the church admonishes. What nobody seems to remember is love thyself. And yet that is precisely what you're going to have to learn to do if you are to achieve present moment happiness. You learned as a child that loving yourself, which was a natural thing for you then, was akin to being selfish or conceited. You learned to put others ahead of you, to think of others first, because that showed you were a good person. You learned self-effacement and were nurtured on instructions like share your things with your cousins. It didn't matter that they were your treasures, your prized possessions, or that mommy or daddy might not be sharing their big people toys with others. You may even have been told that you were to be seen and not heard, and that you ought to know your place. Children just naturally think of themselves as beautiful and terribly important, but by adolescence, society's messages have taken root. Self-doubt is in full bloom, and the reinforcements continue as the years pass. After all, you're not supposed to go around loving yourself. What will others think of you? The hints are subtle and not malicious in intent, but they do keep the individual in line. From parents and immediate family members to schools, churches, and friends, the child learns all those fine social amenities that are the hallmarks of the adult world. Kids never acted that way with each other except to please older folks. Always say, please and thank you curtsy. Stand up when an adult enters, ask permission to leave the table, tolerate the endless cheek pinching and head patting. The message was clear. Adults are important, kids don't count. Others are significant, you are insignificant. Don't trust your own judgment was corollary number one, and there was a full cargo of reinforcers that came under the subheading of politeness. These rules, disguised under the word manners, helped you to internalize the judgments of others at the expense of your own values. It's not surprising that those same question marks and self-denying definitions persist into adulthood. And how do these self-doubts get in the way? In the important area of loving others, you may be having a difficult time. Giving love to others is directly related to how much love you have for yourself. Love, a suggested definition. Love is a word that has as many definitions as there are people to define it. Try this one on for size. The ability and willingness to allow those that you care for to be what they choose for themselves, without any insistence that they satisfy you. This may be a workable definition, but the fact remains that so few are able to adopt it for themselves. How can you reach the point of being able to let others be what they choose without insisting they meet your expectations? Very simple. By loving yourself, by feeling that you are important, worthy, and beautiful. Once you recognize just how good you are, you won't have to have others reinforce your value or values by making their behavior conform to your dictates. If you're secure in yourself, you neither want nor need others to be like you. For one thing, you're unique. For another, that would rob them of their own uniqueness. And what you love in them are just those traits that make them special and separate. It begins to fit. You get good at loving yourself, and suddenly you're able to love others, to give to others, and do for others by giving and doing for yourself first. Then there are no gimmicks to your giving. You're not doing it for the thanks or the payoffs, but because of the genuine pleasure you get from being a helper or a lover. If the you is someone unworthy or unloved by you, then giving becomes impossible. How can you give love if you're worthless? What would your love be worth? And if you can't give love, neither can you receive it. After all, what can the love be worth if it's bestowed on a worthless person? The entire business of being in love, giving and receiving, starts with a self that is totally loved. Take Noah, a middle-aged man who claimed to love his wife and children dearly. To show his affections, he bought them expensive gifts, took them on luxurious holidays, and was always careful when away on business trips to sign his letters, love. Yet Noah could never bring himself to tell his wife or children that he loved them. He had the same problem with his parents, of whom he was tremendously fond. Noah wanted to say the words. They ran through his head repeatedly, yet every time he tried to say, I love you, he got all choked up. In Noah's head, the words "I love you" meant he was putting himself on the line. If he said "I love you," someone mustn't swear "I love you too, Noah." His statement of love must be met with an affirmation of his own self-worth. Saying those words was taking too much of a chance for Noah, for they might not be answered, and then his entire value would be in question. If, on the other hand, Noah could start with the premise that he was lovable, he would experience no difficulty in the "I love you." If he didn't get the desired "I love you too, Noah," then he would see that as having nothing to do with his own self-worth, since that was intact before he ever started. Whether or not he was loved in return would be his wife's problem, or whomever Noah was loving at the moment. He might want the other person's love, but it would not be essential to his self-worth. You can challenge all of your self-feelings in terms of your ability to love yourself. Remember, at no time, under no circumstance, is self-hate healthier than self-love. Even if you have behaved in a way that you dislike, loathing yourself will only lead to immobilization and damage. Instead of hating yourself, develop positive feelings. Learn from the error and resolve not to repeat it, but don't associate it with your self-worth. Here is the guts of both self and other-directed love. Never confuse your self-worth, which is a given, with your behavior or the behavior of others toward you. Once again, it isn't easy. The messages of society are overpowering. You're a bad boy, rather than you've behaved badly. Mommy doesn't like you when you behave that way, as opposed to Mommy doesn't like the way you behave. The conclusions that you may have adopted from these messages are, she doesn't like me, I must be a nerd, instead of, she doesn't like me, that's her decision, and while I don't like it, I'm still important. R.D. Laing's Knots sums up the process of internalizing others' thoughts and equating them with one's self-worth. My mother loves me. I feel good. I feel good because she loves me. My mother does not love me. I feel bad. I feel bad because she does not love me. I am bad because I feel bad. I feel bad because I am bad. I am bad because she does not love me. She does not love me because I am bad. The habits of thought of childhood are not easily outgrown. Your own self-image may still be based upon others' perceptions of you. While it is true that your original self-profiles were learned from the opinions of adults, it is not true that you must carry them around with you forever. Yes, it is tough to shed those old shackles and wipe clean those unhealed scars, but hanging on to them is even tougher when you consider the consequences. With mental practice, you can make some self-loving choices that will amaze you. Who are the folks who are good at loving? Are they self-demolishing in their behavior? Never. Do they put themselves down and hide in the corner? Not so. Getting good at giving and receiving love starts at home, with you, with a vow to end any low self-esteem behaviors that have become a way of life. Tuning into self-acceptance. First, you must destroy the myth that you have one single self-concept and that it is either positive or negative all of the time. You have many self-images and they vary from moment to moment. If you were asked, do you like yourself? You might be inclined to lump all of your negative self-thoughts together into a collective no. Breaking down the areas of dislike into specifics will give you definite goals to work on. You have feelings about yourself physically, intellectually, socially, and emotionally. You have an opinion about your abilities in music, athletics, art, mechanical undertakings, writing, and on. Your self-portraits are as numerous as your activities, and through all of these behaviors, there is always you, the person that you either accept or reject. Your self-worth, that friendly, ever-present shadow, your consultant for personal happiness and personal mastery, must be unrelated to your self-assessments. You exist. You are human. That is all you need. Your worth is determined by you and with no need for an explanation to anyone. And your worthiness, a given, has nothing to do with your behavior and feelings. You may not like your behavior in a given instance, but that has nothing to do with your self-worth. You can choose to be worthy to yourself forever and then get on with the task of working on your self-images. Loving your body. It all begins with the physical you. Do you like your body? If you answered no, try breaking it down into its component parts. Make a list of the items that you find objectionable. Starting at the top, your hair, your forehead, eyes, eyelids, cheeks. Do you like your mouth, nose, teeth, and neck? How about your arms, fingers, breasts, and stomach? Make a long list. Include the innards as well, your kidneys, spleen, arteries, and femurs. Now go to the obscure ingredients that make up you. How about your Rolandic fissure, cochlea, pinna, adrenal glands, and uvula? You've got to make a very long list to check yourself out thoroughly. You don't have a nice body. You are your body, and disliking it means not accepting yourself as a human being. Perhaps you do have some physical attributes you dislike. If they are parts of your body which can be changed, make changing them one of your goals. If your stomach is too big or your hair the wrong color for you, you can see them as choices you made in an earlier present moment and make new present moment decisions about them. Those parts which you disapprove and which cannot be changed, legs too long, eyes too narrow, breasts too small or too large, can be viewed in a new light. Nothing is too anything, and long legs are no better or worse than hair or non-hair. What you have done is bought contemporary society's definition of beauty. Don't let others dictate what will be attractive to you. Decide to like the physical you and declare it as worthy and attractive to you, thereby rejecting the comparisons and opinions of others. You can decide what is pleasing and make non-acceptance of yourself a thing of the past. You are a human being. Human beings have certain odors, make certain sounds, and have certain growths of hair. But society and industry send out certain messages about the human physical condition. Be ashamed of these human characteristics, they say. Learn masking behavior, especially if you mask the real you with our product. Don't accept yourself. Hide the real you. You can't get through an hour of television without getting the message. The advertisements that bombard you daily tell you to be contemptuous of the way your mouth, underarms, feet, skin, and even genitals smell. Change to our product and feel real and natural again. As if the way you are is unnatural and you should go around sending out cosmetic odors in order to like yourself better. So you deodorize each orifice with the right smelling stuff because you don't accept a part of yourself that exists in all human beings. I know of a 32-year-old man, Frank, who has learned to reject all of his bodily functions, labeling them as disgusting and unmentionable. Frank is compulsively clean about his body to the point of being uncomfortable whenever he sweats, and he expects the same kind of starchy clean behavior from his wife and children. He rushes for the shower to rid himself of any offensive odors after mowing the lawn or playing a set of tennis. Moreover, he cannot have sex unless both he and his wife shower before and after. He cannot tolerate his own normal body odors, nor can he live with anyone who is more accepting of himself. Frank sprays his bathroom, uses a multitude of cosmetic products to keep himself smelling good, and he is concerned about anyone else disliking him when he becomes human and begins smelling like one. Frank has learned to reject his natural body functions and odors. He has adopted attitudes that reflect personal self-rejection by either being embarrassed or apologetic whenever he allows his body to be natural. But being human means having many natural odors, and the person who is working at self-love and self-acceptance is in no way offended by his natural self. In fact, if Frank were to be totally honest about himself and wiped out the learned messages of self-rejection, he might even be able to admit to enjoying his own body and all of the glorious odors it is capable of producing. While he might not wish to share those odors with others, he would at least be able to accept them in himself, tell himself that he, in fact, likes them and experience no shame around others. Self-acceptance means liking the entire physical you and eliminating those cultural impositions to be proper or to merely tolerate your body when it behaves other than in a cosmetic fashion. This doesn't mean you have to go around flaunting yourself, but it does mean that you can learn to take private pleasure in being you. Many women have accepted the cultural dispatches and behave in ways that they are supposed to when it comes to their own bodies. Shave your legs and underarms, deodorize yourself everywhere, perfume your body with foreign odors, sterilize your mouth, make up your eyes, lips, cheeks, pad your bra, spray your genitals with the appropriate bouquet, and falsify your fingernails. The implication is that there is something unpleasant about the natural you, the essentially human you, and only by becoming artificial can you become attractive. That's the saddest part, that the end product is a fraudulent you that takes the place of the natural self you carry around with you for most of your life. You are being encouraged to reject that beautiful you. That advertisers would encourage you to do this is understandable in light of profits to be made, but that you would buy the products is less easy to understand in view of the fact that you're choosing to throw away the real you. You can stop hiding the beautiful, natural you. Thus, if you choose to use cosmetic aids of any kind, it will not be based on disliking what you are covering up, but for reasons of novelty or personal fulfillment. Being honest with yourself in this realm is not easy, and it takes time to learn to distinguish what pleases us from what the advertising business says should please us.